All right, so we're tackling a whole book about the mindset of money. And it's a bit dense.
Yeah, it's a lot.
I'll admit, when I first saw it, I thought, oh boy, are we going to need a financial advisor just to get through this deep dive?
Right.
But don't worry, we're not going to just summarize the whole thing page by page.
Yeah, absolutely not.
We're going to extract the most useful stuff, especially the stuff you can actually use right now.
Think of this as your crash course in wealth mindset, you know?
Yeah.
We're going to break it down, share some insights, and hopefully by the end you'll have a whole new perspective on money.
And speaking of perspectives, the book introduces these two characters, Sarah and Mark, same income, totally different money situations.
Mm-hmm.
One's stressed all the time, the other one's, building wealth. And it's not about being good or bad with money. It's all about their mindsets.
Yeah.
So as we go along, think about this. Who are you more like right now? And more importantly, who do you want to be more like?
That's a great question, and it really sets the stage for this whole deep dive. And the good news is your mindset isn't fixed. You can absolutely change it.
So the book starts with this scenario. Imagine you get a surprise windfall, like 5,000 euros just shows up.
Okay.
Same amount of money. Two very different reactions.
Interesting.
One person freaks out like, oh my gosh, I got to hoard this because money like this never comes again.
Right.
Another person's like, oh, awesome opportunity. Let's invest this. Let's grow this money. It's fascinating how the same event can be interpreted so differently.
It really is. And that's kind of the beauty of this whole concept of money mindset, right? Because it shows how we view our financial world. It goes beyond just, being responsible or reckless.
Yeah.
It's like looking at the same painting and seeing something totally different.
I love that analogy. It's like one person sees that 5,000 euros as like a precious gem they got to lock away.
Yeah.
The other person sees it as a seed they can plant and grow something bigger.
Exactly. And that leads us to one of the most important ideas in the book, the difference between a scarcity mindset and an abundance mindset.
And I think this is where a lot of people are going to have those aha moments, because when the book talks about scarcity, it's not just about being poor.
Right.
It's that deeper fear of never having enough no matter how much you have.
Yeah.
Which can be so limiting.
It really can. And that fear becomes this self-fulfilling prophecy. You constantly focus on what you lack.
Yeah.
You miss opportunities, you play it safe, you avoid risks, and ultimately you just hinder your own growth.
On the other hand, an abundance mindset isn't about pretending everything is perfect. It's about seeing challenges, even financial ones, as chances to learn and adapt and come out ahead.
It's about shifting your perspective from I can't afford this to how can I make this happen? And it opens up possibilities.
So where do these mindsets even come from?
Yeah.
Are we born with them? The book breaks down a few factors I think that really hit home.
Yeah, it's kind of a mix of nature and nurture, right? We're influenced by our upbringing, our culture, our personal experiences.
Let's start with childhood. Remember those phrases we heard growing up? Like, money doesn't grow on trees, or we can't afford the bag. That the book dives into how these seemingly harmless sayings can actually shape our beliefs about money for years to come.
It's amazing how those early messages, especially when they're repeated over and over, become ingrained in our subconscious. And we might not even realize how they're influencing our decisions as adults.
Yeah, like for example, I remember my parents always saying, money is the root of all evil.
Oh, wow.
Now, they weren't trying to instill some negative mindset or anything.
Right.
But it definitely made me wary of money and even a little ashamed of wanting to be financially successful.
That's a perfect example of how a well-intentioned phrase can have those unintended consequences.
Yeah.
And it's not about blaming our parents or our upbringing. It's about recognizing those deeply ingrained beliefs and questioning, are they actually serving me now?
Right. It's like my parents, they were all about saving every penny, which,
not a bad thing in itself.
Not a bad thing, but it made me so hesitant to invest even when it made sense. I was so focused on just hoarding money that I missed out on opportunities to actually grow it.
It highlights how important it is to really examine those early messages. Are they based on your parents' actual experiences or just fears passed down through generations?
Right.
Recognizing those beliefs is the first step to changing them.
Beyond childhood, the book also talks about cultural influences, like some societies value saving and prudence above all else, while others are very consumer driven. And then there's the media.
Oh, yeah.
Often portraying wealth and very stereotypical and honestly misleading ways.
Think about how many movies show rich people as either greedy villains or spoiled heirs who just inherited their wealth.
Right. It creates this perception that wealth is either evil or unattainable for ordinary people.
Yeah, it completely ignores the hard work, the smart decisions, and yes, sometimes luck that goes into building wealth.
It's like they skip over the whole journey and just focus on the destination.
It's really important to be aware of those cultural narratives and how they might be shaping your subconscious beliefs about money.
Yeah.
Do you believe that wealth is only for a select few, or do you see it as something you can achieve through hard work and smart choices?
That's a great point.
Yeah.
It's not about rejecting your cultural background,
Right.
but about questioning the messages you've received and deciding which ones actually align with your own values and goals.
Exactly. It's about taking ownership of your financial beliefs and shaping them in a way that empowers you.
And then, of course, there are our own personal experiences with money. You know,
Of course.
we've all had those moments, both good and bad, that stick with us, like landing a great job early on, feeling super confident about your earning potential,
Sure.
or maybe going through a rough patch financially and now being afraid to take any risks.
Those experiences are real and they can have a huge impact on how we view money.
Yeah.
The key is to recognize how they might be holding you back now.
So we might have some limiting beliefs. We're bombarded with cultural messages and we're carrying baggage from past experiences. How do we actually change our mindset to one that attracts wealth?
That's where the book gets really practical. It offers some actionable advice that anyone can start using today, no matter their financial situation.
I'm ready to hear the secrets. What's the first step to rewiring our brains for financial success?
It starts as something really simple, but a lot of people skip over it. It's identifying those limiting beliefs we were just talking about.
Okay.
The book actually suggests writing them down. Get them out of your head and onto paper, you know?
Yeah, it's amazing how much power those negative thoughts have when we just keep them bottled up inside.
It's like they fester and grow stronger in the dark.
Right.
It's like turning on the light in a room you've only ever seen in the dark.
Yeah.
You might be surprised what you find lurking in the corners. The book gives some good examples to get you started, like, I'll never be wealthy, or investing is too risky.
Yeah, those are so common. It's like we've all internalized these scripts without even realizing it.
Yeah.
What are some others that you've encountered that really seem to hold people back?
I think one of the most common is I'm just not good with money, which becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, you know?
Surely.
It's like saying I'm bad at cooking and then never even trying to boil an egg. You're denying yourself the opportunity to learn and grow.
And the book suggests actually actively reframing those negative beliefs.
Yes.
So instead of saying, I'm terrible with money, you could say,
I'm on a journey to manage my finances more effectively.
ooh, I like that.
It's a subtle shift, but it puts you in a position of control and possibility.
Yeah.
You're no longer a victim of your circumstances, but an active participant in shaping your financial future.
I love how empowering that feels. Instead of this fixed mindset of, this is just how I am, it's a growth mindset of, I can learn and improve.
Exactly. It's like swapping out a rusty old tool for a shiny new one, you know?
Yeah.
You're equipping yourself with the right mindset to tackle those financial challenges.
So we're identifying those limiting beliefs and consciously reframing them. What's the next step? How do we create an environment that supports this new wealth mindset?
Well, this is where your social circle comes into play. You know, that's saying you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it applies to finances as well.
Makes sense if you're constantly surrounded by people who are complaining about money deep in debt or just generally negative about wealth, it's bound to rub off on you.
It's not about judging your friends or cutting people off because they're facing financial challenges.
Right.
It's about being mindful of the energy you surround yourself with.
Yeah, you're not responsible for their financial choices, but you are responsible for protecting your own mindset.
Right.
It's like if you're trying to eat healthy, you probably wouldn't hang out in a bakery all the time.
Exactly. You would seek out environments that support your goals. And just like with health, having a supportive community can make all the difference in achieving your financial goals.
Surround yourself with people who inspire you, motivate you, challenge you to grow.
Yes.
So we're rewriting our internal scripts, curating our social circles. What's the next concrete step toward cultivating that wealth mindset?
I think this is where things get really interesting. It's learning to think like an investor.
Okay.
It's about shifting your perspective from consumption to growth, from how much can I spend to how can I make my money work for me.
A lot of people find that whole thinking like an investor thing kind of intimidating.
I know it can sound that way.
Can you break it down in a way that's more relatable, you know, for our listeners?
Yeah, absolutely. One way is to think about the time value of money. So the book gives this great example Imagine investing just 100 euros each month.
Okay.
Doesn't sound like much, right?
Not really.
But over 30 years, assuming a reasonable rate of return, that small, consistent investment could grow to over 100,000 euros.
Wow, 100,000 from just 100 a month. That really highlights how those small, consistent actions over time can lead to huge results. It's like that saying, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today.
Exactly. It's never too late to start. Even if you can only invest a small amount right now, the key is to start and do it consistently. Let time and compounding work their magic.
That leads us to the next big thing. The book emphasizes financial education. Knowledge is power, especially when it comes to money.
Absolutely. It's like having a map and a compass when navigating the often confusing world of finance.
Right.
The book actually recommends some excellent resources. I know you're familiar with Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Oh yeah, a classic.
And Morgan Housel's The Psychology of Money.
Love that one.
But financial education goes beyond just reading books. You know, it's about staying informed about personal finance through podcasts, blogs, even just talking to people who are knowledgeable about investing.
I love that you mentioned talking to people. It's so important to remember. We don't have to figure this all out on our own.
Right.
There are experts and resources available to guide us.
Absolutely.
And often the best way to learn is by asking questions and having conversations with people we trust.
Financial literacy empowers you to make informed decisions about your money. Understand the risks and rewards, avoid common pitfalls.
It's about feeling confident and in control of your financial well-being rather than overwhelmed and intimidated.
Exactly. It's like learning a new language. It opens up a whole new world of possibilities.
So we're rewriting those negative beliefs, surrounding ourselves with supportive people, thinking like investors prioritizing financial education. It's like we're building a solid foundation brick by brick.
I like that.
But how do we set specific goals to guide us on this journey?
That's where SMART goals come in.
Okay.
And before you roll your eyes, this isn't just some empty corporate jargon. It's a really effective framework for setting and achieving any goal, especially financial ones.
Okay, I'm intrigued, Asgardy. Remind us what SMART stands for and how it applies to building wealth.
So SMART stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound.
Got it.
Instead of just saying, I want to be rich, which is lovely, but a bit vague, you set a SMART goal, like I want to save 10,000 euros for a down payment on a rental property within the next 2 years.
That's a great example. It's specific, you can measure your progress, it's achievable with a solid plan, it's relevant to your overall goal, and there's a deadline.
Exactly. SMART goals provide that clarity, that focus, that sense of purpose. They break down those big, audacious goals into smaller, more manageable steps.
So we're setting SMART goals, but how do we make sure we're consistently making choices that align with those goals? The book talks about the habits of wealthy people.
Yeah, and it's not about glorifying wealth or suggesting that all wealthy people are perfect.
Right.
It's about recognizing patterns of behavior that often lead to financial success. And these aren't magical powers, but rather intentional choices and disciplines that we can all learn from.
It's not about mimicking every detail of their lives,
Right.
but about extracting those principles that resonate with us
Right.
and aligning them with our own values and goals.
Exactly. So what are some of these habits that we can learn from?
Yeah, let's dive in.
One of the most consistent habits you'll find among people who build wealth is saving and investing consistently. Remember that example we talked about earlier, investing just 100 euros a month?
Right. Over time, that small, consistent investment could grow to over 100,000 euros. That's the magic of compounding.
The book actually highlights a really compelling example to emphasize this point.
Okay.
So Maria starts investing 200 euros a month at age 25. By the time she's 45, her investments have grown to over 120,000 euros.
Wow.
But someone who starts investing the same amount at 35 only reaches about 36,000 by 45,
That's a huge difference.
even though they've invested the same amount of money overall.
So time really is your greatest asset when it comes to investing. The earlier you start, even with a small amount, the more time your money has to grow exponentially.
It's a powerful reminder that consistency and patience are key. You know, it's not about get-rich-quick schemes.
Right.
It's about making smart choices consistently over time and letting that magic of compounding work its magic.
Okay, what are some other habits of the wealthy that we can learn from?
Another common thread is diversifying income streams. Wealthy individuals often have multiple streams of income rather than relying solely on one source.
And that makes sense. Don't put all your eggs in the basket, right?
Exactly. Diversifying your income streams reduces your financial risk and creates multiple avenues for wealth creation.
I think a lot of people hear multiple income streams and they think of like complicated side hustles they don't have time for.
That's a common misconception. It doesn't have to be complicated or overwhelming.
Okay.
It could be as simple as investing in dividend-paying stocks, renting out a spare room on Airbnb, selling handmade goods on Etsy, or even creating and selling online courses in your area of expertise.
That's a great point. There are so many creative ways to generate additional income these days, thanks to technology and the gig economy.
The key is to identify your skills, interests, and resources, and find ways to leverage them to create multiple streams of income.
So we've got consistent saving and investing, diversifying income streams. What else sets wealthy people apart in their financial habits?
They also tend to be very mindful of lifestyle inflation.
Oh, yeah.
This is something we can all relate to. You get a raise or a bonus, and suddenly you feel the need to upgrade your lifestyle to match your new income level.
Oh, I've been there. It's so tempting to fall into that trap. The new car smell is intoxicating, but it fades quickly, and you're left with a car payment that eats into your ability to save and invest.
Wealthy people seem to understand that delaying gratification and prioritizing long-term financial security over short-term indulgences is crucial.
It's like choosing to eat a healthy salad today,
Right.
so you can enjoy dessert guilt-free on your financial vacation next year.
I like that analogy. It's about making choices that support your overall well-being, both financially and otherwise.
Okay, last habit. We've got to cover strategic debt.
Yes,
Now, I know debt can be a scary word for a lot of people,
for sure.
but the book makes a really important distinction between good debt and bad debt.
That's a crucial distinction. Good debt is an investment in your future.
Okay.
It's about using debt strategically to acquire assets that will appreciate in value over time. So let's say Anna decides to take out a mortgage to purchase a rental property. While she does incur debt, that property generates passive income that covers her mortgage payments and puts extra cash in her pocket each month over time. Her renters are essentially paying off her mortgage while her asset appreciates in value. That's good debt.
That's a fantastic example of leveraging debt strategically to build wealth. Bad debt, on the other hand.
Yeah.
That's what often trips people up.
Exactly. So let's compare Anna's situation with John, who racks up high interest credit card debt, buying gadgets and clothes. He doesn't really need those purchases, provide fleeting enjoyment, but they don't generate any income or increase in value, and they come with hefty interest payments that trap him in a cycle of debt.
It's about being mindful of the why behind your debt. Is it an investment in your future, like education, that can boost your earning potential, or a business loan to start a company?
Right.
Or is it impulsive spending on things that provide temporary satisfaction but ultimately hinder your financial progress?
It's about using debt wisely, aligning it with your financial goals, and making sure it's working for you, not against you.
So we've covered a lot: mindsets, habits, smart goals. But let's talk about that ultimate destination, financial independence.
This is where everything we've discussed comes together. Financial independence isn't about retiring on a beach unless that's your dream.
Right.
It's about having choices.
Yeah.
It's about reaching a point where you're not tethered to a job you hate just to pay the bills.
It's about having the freedom to pursue your passions, spend time with loved ones, travel the world, or simply enjoy life without the constant worry and stress of financial instability. Sign me up. But how do we actually get there? Where do we start?
It all starts with awareness. It's time to stop burying your head in the sand and get a clear picture of your financial health.
No more avoiding those bank statements. I used to be terrified of budgeting. I associated it with restriction and deprivation. But what I've realized is that budgeting isn't about limiting yourself. It's about empowering yourself.
Oh, love that.
So making conscious choices about where your money is going so you can align your spending with your values and goals.
And thankfully, we live in a time where technology can be a huge help in this process.
Right.
There are so many great budgeting apps out there like Wyana or Mint that make it easy and even a little bit fun to track your spending, create budgets, monitor your progress.
It's like having a personal financial assistant in your pocket. Okay, so we're tracking our spending and creating a budget.
Yeah.
What's the next step on the road to financial independence?
Once you have a clear picture of your income and expenses, it's time to look for opportunities to trim the fat.
Okay.
And we're not talking about extreme deprivation, but rather making conscious choices about your spending.
Right. It's about asking yourself, do I need that daily latte, Or could I make coffee at home a couple of times a week and invest the difference?
Exactly.
Do I really need another subscription service? Or could I be more mindful of my digital consumption? It's amazing how those small, seemingly insignificant expenses can add up over time.
You'll be surprised how much money you can free up by simply being more intentional with your spending and making small adjustments here and there.
It's like finding hidden treasure in your budget. Okay, so we're tracking our finances, we're being mindful of our spending. What else can we do to accelerate our journey toward financial independence?
Increasing your income is another powerful strategy.
Yes, and I love that the book doesn't limit this to simply asking for a raise at your current job, although that's never a bad idea if it's warranted.
The book encourages you to think outside the traditional employment box, maybe start a side hustle freelance in your spare time, or even create a passive income stream through online courses or investments.
There are so many possibilities these days, and the more income streams you have, the more secure your financial foundation becomes.
Exactly. It's about being proactive and exploring different avenues for generating income, rather than relying solely on one source.
Of course, no path to financial independence is complete without investing. We've already talked about the importance of starting early and investing consistently, but it's also crucial to invest wisely.
And that's where doing your research, diversifying your portfolio, and potentially even consulting with a financial advisor can be incredibly valuable.
Right.
It's about finding investments that align with your risk tolerance, time horizon, and long-term goals. And remember, it's okay to start small.
Don't let fear or the idea that you need a lot of money to start investing hold you back. Even investing a small amount each month can make a big difference over time, thanks to the power of compounding.
Absolutely. It's also important to remember that investing is a journey, not a destination.
Yeah.
It's about continuing to learn, adapt, and adjust your strategy as needed along the way.
And finally, no matter how financially savvy you are or how much you earn, life throws curveballs. That's why the book stresses the importance of having an emergency fund.
Your emergency fund is your financial safety net, your peace of mind knowing that you can handle those unexpected expenses without derailing your progress or falling into debt.
It's like having a financial rainy day fund. You might not know when the storm is coming, but you'll be prepared when it arrives.
Exactly. Aiming for 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses in a high-yield savings account can provide a sense of security that allows you to focus on your long-term goals without constantly worrying about what-if scenarios.
Wow, that was a lot of ground to cover.
Yeah.
But I feel like we've packed so much valuable information into this deep dive.
We've gone from understanding the power of our money mindset to uncovering the habits of the wealthy, setting smart goals, and mapping out a clear path to financial independence. It's like we've given you a treasure map, and now it's up to you to embark on the adventure.
And while every journey is unique, we hope we've provided you with the tools and inspiration you need to navigate your own path to financial well-being.
Yeah, it feels like we've really given our listeners a whole toolkit.
Yeah, like a whole set of strategies and insights, to build a better financial future.
And just like any toolkit, it's not about using every tool for every situation.
Right, you got to understand what each tool's for.
It's about choosing the right tools for the job. Exactly. Your financial journey is unique, and what works for one person might not work for another.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to bring it back to our listener. We've covered so much, but if there's one key takeaway I want to emphasize, it's that your money mindset is incredibly powerful.
Oh, it really is.
It shapes your beliefs, your choices, ultimately your financial outcomes.
It's the lens through which you view your entire financial world, and like any lens, it can be adjusted to give you a clearer, more empowering perspective.
And it's not about being good or bad with money. It's about recognizing the beliefs and patterns that might be holding you back.
Yeah.
And consciously choosing to adopt a wealth mindset. One that sees opportunities instead of limitations.
And remember, changing your mindset, it's not a one-time event.
Right.
It's an ongoing process. It takes self-reflection and intentional action.
So to our amazing listener, I want to issue a challenge. What's one small, concrete step you can take this week to start shifting your money mindset?
It could be something as simple as tracking your spending for a few days or reading a chapter of a personal finance book. Yeah.
Or even just having a conversation with someone you admire about their financial habits.
The key is to take action no matter how small. Because even those small steps can create momentum and lead to big changes over time.
And as you embark on this journey, I want to leave you with a thought-provoking question from the book.
Okay, I like it.
If you could wave a magic wand and have any amount of money you desired, how would your life actually change?
That's a really great question to think about because it forces you to get clear on your values, your priorities, what truly matters to you.
And once you have that clarity, you can start making choices today that align with that vision.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the mindset of money. We hope you found it insightful, empowering, maybe even a little bit life-changing.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Remember, you have the power to shape your financial future. Start with your mindset. Take action and watch as amazing things begin to unfold.